Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It's such a pleasure to be back in Prague. I was here 20 years ago. And it was sunny just as today, so it's always sunny in Prague, right? It's beautiful. Let me first introduce my family. Here we are. Aren't we beautiful? This is the way I dress the rest of the week. Now I'll show you a more glamorous picture. This is us. On the left, there is Max, who's now 16. Leo, who's now 14. My husband, Scott. Won't tell you how old he is. And then Zizou, our Zioist dog, the Zioist Chihuahua, is the mascot of the family because there is not one plate that goes in a dishwasher before Zizou has had the chance to lick it. And he goes by me first, so there isn't much on them. Our journey started back in 2006. We were then living in this home outside of San Francisco, but it was located in a cul-de-sac, so that means that we had to get into a car to do just about anything. We had to get into a car to go to the grocery store, the movie theater, the schools, restaurants, and we kind of missed the life that we had known in Europe, in London, Amsterdam, and Paris, where we had lived before. So we wanted to relocate to be closer to a downtown where we could have amenities within walking distance or biking distance. So we decided to relocate next to this cute little downtown. But before finding the ideal home, we rented an apartment for a year and we only moved in with the necessities. And it is during that year that we found that when you live with less, all of a sudden, you have more time in your hands to do the things that you enjoy doing. All of a sudden, you have time to go on picnics, on hikes, spend time with friends, spend time with family. So when we did find the ideal home in that downtown that interested us, it happens to be half, if not a third of the size of the previous home. But we got everything out of storage. And we found that 80% of the belongings that we had put in storage, we hadn't even missed during that whole year. So that's when we really started decluttering, letting go of a lot of things. We let go of about 80% of our belongings. And then, thanks to that voluntary simplicity, thanks to that minimalism, we were able to educate ourselves on environmental issues. We read some books, we watched some documentaries, and I even show WALL-E. I don't know if you guys have seen WALL-E, but I think WALL-E is a great little movie that kind of shows us what kind of future we have ahead if we don't change our consumption habits. But home in particular, up top here on the left, really made me cry. And it also made my husband cry. We both felt really sad thinking about the future that we were going to leave behind for our kids. All of a sudden, we asked ourselves, what kind of a future are we creating for our children? What kind of a future are we leaving behind? We found motivation at that time to change our ways. My husband quit his job to start a sustainability consulting company, and I tackled the home. So, of course, we started watching our electrical consumption, we watched our water consumption, and then I started looking at our waste and trying to find alternatives to all the wasteful aspects of our lives. I got super motivated, and I learned how to do a bunch of things. I tested lots of different things. I picked up the phone to call my mom. I asked her, please teach me how to can. I don't know how to can. Please teach me how to. And I've learned how to can, and I'll keep on canning probably for the rest of my life. Not that I can every day. I don't need to can every day. I just can once a year. I only can tomato sauce. So I go to the farmer's market, I bargain for 2 big totes of tomatoes, and then I make enough tomato sauce to last us until the next growing season. So canning is something I'll keep on doing, but there are other things we tested that didn't quite work out for us. You see, at one point I was trying to find an alternative to shampoo, and I found that you could wash your hair with no shampoo. It's actually called no poo. What you're supposed to do is sprinkle baking soda on your hair, on your wet hair, and then you're supposed to rinse it with apple cider vinegar and water. But after 6 months of doing that, let's just say that, well, the oils of my hair migrated down to here. I ended up with frizzy ends, not quite the look I was looking for. But I think I really reached rock bottom when one night I went to lay down next to my husband. He looked over, he rolled his eyes and said, I am so tired of you smelling like vinaigrette, Bea. You know, it's really not sexy. So I thought at that point, okay, maybe I've gone too far, and maybe for the future of my sex life, I should find another alternative. So today, I no longer use the no poo. I use something else, which I'll mention later, but in that case, we decided this is not for me, or this is not for us. At one point, I also came to look at my cosmetic pouch, and I really wanted to find a solution for everything in my cosmetic pouch. So I took my cosmetic pouch to a green store, a health food store, and I asked the salesperson to give me a alternative for all the products in my pouch. She looked at my lip plumper and she said, I'm sorry, I really don't have a solution here for you. I don't have a green lip plumper. I was really disappointed. I really thought, the lip plumper was something that I had to have because I had always had it. Although, it doesn't really work. I've actually put a ruler on my lips. I've done the before and after with the lip plumper. There was no augmentation. But in my head, I felt that it was important. Maybe I should explain what a lip plumper is to the guys out there. A lip plumper is a gloss with an ingredient that tinkles your lips and is supposed to plump them. But, it's not true. Anyways, I was still disappointed that the salesperson didn't have a solution for me, so I fell back on Google. And I did a search, a natural way of plumping your lips. And I found a YouTube video of a beautiful woman, a little bit like Kylie Jenner or Angelina Jolie, with the beautiful big lips. And she said it's simple. All you need is a twig of stinging nettle. Is it that simple? I have a ton of stinging nettle around me. Maybe I can just go pick some. So I put on some gloves. I went I went to pick some stinging nettle. I brought it back to my kitchen. I removed the leaves, just like she showed in the video. And then I rolled the twig on my lips. OMG! Did it hurt? And of course, it did not provide the results I was expecting. Of course, my lips exploded, but not a good explosion, of course. I didn't look like the woman in the video. I ended up with red bumps and a little bit all over the place and hard, not very attractive, of course. And this is when my husband comes home from work. And he looks at me, he's like, oh my God, what happened to you? I'm like, nothing, I'm testing something. I just hope it goes away. And it did go away. But in that case, I decided, okay, maybe stinging nettle is not for me. Might as well content myself with what God has given me. Forget about stinging nettle, forget about the lip plumper. I came to look at my toilet paper one day and I said, there's gotta be a solution there too. And at that time, I was taking a botany class. And one day, with my teacher, we're in the woods. And she said, it's simple. If you're stuck in the woods without toilet paper, that moss over there is fantastic. It's nice, it's soft, it's quite comfortable. So I grabbed some moss, and I brought it home. But you know the problem with moss, right? Yes, moss dries. So the next day I ended up with, those green sponges that you use in the kitchen? Well, I don't use them, but those green scouring pad? Yes, not very pleasant on your bottom, I can tell you that. So in that case, we decided, okay, this is probably not for me. Actually, my husband wants to make clear that you guys know that he did not try moss. I did. But in that case, we decided that might as well use toilet paper. Toilet paper is the only single-use item we use in our home, but we buy it from a restaurant and a hotel supply store, so it's just wrapped individually in paper. Now, don't you guys start sending me a ton of emails telling me, you know you can do without toilet paper? Yes, I know. Most of the world doesn't use toilet paper. They use a bucket of water and their hand. But personally, where I live, it's not really part of my customs. So that's the reason why we've decided to simply stick with toilet paper. Now, after all this trial and error, after testing all these extremes, we found balance. And we found that for zero waste to be sustainable in our household for the long run, all we had to do was simply follow 5 rules in order. Refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, rot. So at the end of the year, we're left with just 1 jar of waste. As a matter of fact, I did bring my jar of waste for 2015, and it happens to be twice as small as the previous year. Not that we try harder, it just happened that last year, the waste that we created was smaller. Now, I can promise that next year will be as glorious. As a matter of fact, our jar is getting pretty full for 2016. I'm gonna have to push hard. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. She's probably throwing some trash in the municipal cans. She's probably throwing some trash in the neighbors. She's probably burying some waste. No, I promise, that's not the case. You're gonna understand very quickly how we do this. Like I mentioned, the first rule is to refuse what we do not need. We've simply learned to say no. We've learned to say no to single-use plastics. We've also learned to say no to promotional goods. Because in this consumerist society, we're the targets of many, many promotional goods. Free promotional goods. The problem is, every time we accept them, we create a demand to make more. Every time we take a free plastic bag, a free pen from a conference, it's a way for us. I love plastic pen. I love plastic bag. I love plastic bags. I love plastic pens. Please drill more oil from the ground to create a replacement, and a replacement will be created. I haven't used plastic bags in so long. See, I can't even pronounce it. So in that case, we've simply learned to say no to stop the demand. We also say no to junk mail, because transferring junk mail from your mailbox straight into the recycling can is a way for you to say, I love junk mail, and please send me more. And more will be sent out to us. And I can tell you that stopping junk mail in the US is way, way more complicated than it is in Europe. But we've still managed to do so. Today, we no longer receive junk mail. We also say no to business cards. I repeat, we say no to business cards. I have to repeat because after each one of my speeches, I always have someone that comes and tries to give me a business card. Now, I have found that in 95% of the cases, when someone tries to give me a business card, I've already had a contact with the person. For example, if a plumber shows up on my doorstep, well, if the plumber is at my doorstep and tries to give me a business card, what's the point of accepting it? If he's on my doorstep, he obviously has my address. If he has my address, I give it to him. So I've already had a contact with him. The second rule of the zero waste lifestyle is to reduce what we do need. Of course, we need a roof on our head, we need a few pieces of furniture, a few pieces of clothing, but we've gone through a decluttering process. The beauty of decluttering is that it allows us to put back on the market valuable resources. It allows us to put back on the market stuff that we don't truly use or need, and to make it available to others. And it boosts the second-hand market, which is extremely important for the future of zero waste. So, for example, in our case, we have, this is our kitchen. And next to the stove, we used to have a jar filled with accessories. I used to have 10 wooden spoons. Until I realized, well, I only have 2 hands. What's the point of having 10 wooden spoons? Because when I stir, I only use 1 hand. So 1 hand is enough. And actually, all these accessories that you see are the ones that we have chosen. They each have a very specific use. This is a picture of underneath my sink. This is a space that I wasn't so proud of before, because it was a space filled with cleaning products. Because I was listening to what the marketers tell us. They tell us that for each application, we need a different product. To clean the windows, we need a product. To clean the floor, a different product. To clean the counters, a different product. Bathrooms, a different product. Shower, a different product. Toilets, a different product. And we end up with a cabinet filled with products that are not only not very healthy, but also we don't really need them, because we found that we can clean the whole house with just white vinegar and water. And we also have Castile soap, which here is the equivalent of Marseille soap. And we use it to wash our hands, wash some dishes, wash the floor, even wash the dog. I told you Zizou was a zero-waste dog. This is our bedroom. And as you can see, we don't have much in our bedroom. But let's just say that we have in our bedroom what we need to do, what we do in the bedroom. Thank you. This is our closet. Come on, guys, I'm just joking. This is our closet. My husband has this is a space that we share. So he has the top railing, I have the bottom railing. He has 1 set of shelves, and I have another set of shelves. Now, we've learned that in a normal wardrobe, we only use 20% of our clothes. The other 80%, we keep for the what if. What if? What if we have a wedding to go to? What if we have a job interview? What if we lose weight? What if we gain weight? What if? We end up having a closet full of nothing to wear. In our case, we figured out what our 20% were, and we've let go of the other 80%. As a matter of fact, I've gone down to 1 pair of shorts, 2 dresses, 2 skirts, 2 pairs of pants, 7 tops, 1 sweater, 5 pairs of shoes. Having less does not mean that you have less options. As a matter of fact, I have picked items that are multifunctional and allow me to create more than 50 looks. Tonight, I am wearing a dress that can be worn, I actually don't know how many ways. I am testing it. I am on tour right now, and every night I wear the dress a different way. And at the end of my tour, I will be presenting the different ways on my blog. Now, I must say this way is not very comfortable. As you can see, I can't really raise my hands, so I probably won't wear it this way again. But it's a nice little experiment. This is my younger son's bedroom. He's a teenager. What does a teenager need besides? Let's just say he has what he needs. This is his closet. And as you can see, Leo is a minimalist, just as the rest of us are, just as I am. Leo has he has 3 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shorts. Of course, if you count, you're only going to see 4 pieces, because when I took the picture, Leo wasn't naked. He was actually wearing something. He has also 7 t-shirts, 2 long sleeve shirts, 1 dress-up shirt, 1 pair of tennis shoes, and 1 pair of flip-flops. And all of this fits in a carry-on. As a matter of fact, each one of our wardrobes fits in a carry-on. Even mine. Actually, it's under the desk right now. The beauty of this is when we want to go away for a weekend, a week, a month. All we have to do is open our carry-on, we throw our wardrobes in it, we get out of the house, then there is a cleaning service that comes in, cleans the house, and then we have people that rent a house out and, well, end up paying for our vacations. I know, this is a great idea, isn't it? This is an idea that Scott had 4 or 5 years ago. Now, you guys need to understand, Scott only has 2 good ideas a year. And on this one, I must say, he really surprised me, and we've been taking full advantage of it. Now, this is the same space I've wanted to include this slide to show what we did when the kids were little. What did we do when they had toys? You know, obviously, today they have passed that toy age, but they used to share Leo's bedroom. And when we went through the decluttering process, we asked them to choose their favorite toys. And they picked Playmobil and Lego. I promise I'm not paid to say these brands. But it actually worked out great because they don't break. They are built to last. And so when they passed the age to play with those things, they were able to sell them on a site like Craigslist to then buy themselves an age-appropriate replacement. This is our bathroom. And what you see here on the right is basically the content of this medicine cabinet here. So this represents everything we have in our bathroom as far as hygiene and cosmetic products. The only product that I buy manufactured for myself is an SPF tinted moisturizer. But since I took this picture, I've actually contacted the manufacturer, which is local and organic, and I've asked them to only sell it to me without the label and without the pump. So I've even been able to eliminate those things. On my skin, I use vegetable oil, which I purchase in bulk. On my cheeks, I use cacao powder. I buy it in bulk, of course. It's an organic brand of cacao powder, and it cost me 72 cents to fill that little jar. There is no way that I could buy a makeup from a regular store for 72 cents, especially being organic. Now, you know, the problem of using cacao powder on your cheeks is that sometimes you get attacked by dogs when you walk down the street. On my eyes, I use burnt almonds. The mascara is a mascara I make with 4 simple ingredients. And I also make a multi-purpose balm. I use the balm to smooth out my hair, add shine to my cheeks, add shine to my lips, no need for stinging needle, add shine to my nails. For hygiene, my husband and now the kids use a double-edged razor. Now, after each use, they dry their blade, which greatly extends the life of the blade. They only need to change the blade once every 6 months, if it's not 9 months. Then on our hair, no need for shampoo, no need for baking soda, no need to smell like vinaigrette. Now we buy 1 bar of soap, which we purchase in bulk, so it's sold loose, unpackaged. And we used to wash our hair, but also wash our face, wash our body, and my husband and the kids also use it to shave. My husband likes to have his hair a little spiked up, so I make a hairspray simply with lemons that have used for cooking, and I reduce it in a bit of water, and that lemon water is magic, it sticks to the hair. For deodorant, we use an alum stone. That same alum stone you see right here, we purchased it in 2008. We're using the same alum stone today. So you can imagine how many tubes of deodorant we've been able to eliminate or avoid. To brush our teeth, we use baking soda, which we buy, of course, in bulk, and we sprinkle it on a wooden toothbrush, which is compostable once we can no longer use it. To floss, we simply use a square of silk. We take a couple of threads of silk, and then we twist it. One thread is not enough, it's not strong enough, so we twist it, and then once we use it, we can then add it to the compost. This is my linen closet. Now, I've wanted to include this slide because I read an article recently about minimalism, and it said something like, yeah, minimalists, yeah, it looks great on paper, but they hide a ton of stuff in other closets. No, it's not the case for us, I promise. We're true minimalists. We don't have anything to hide. In our bathroom, we have 4 towels that are always hung, but we also have 4 towels in a linen closet in case we go to the beach or we go to the pool or we have people visiting us. We have 1 set of sheets per bed, so once it's clean, then we dry it, then we put it back on the bed. Like I said, don't go thinking we hide stuff in other places. This is a picture of our garage. There is always a reaction when I show my garage. What? See, that's a reaction. Well, your garage doesn't look like that? Yeah, mine didn't look like that before either. It's true that in a garage, we tend to keep the things that are in transit, the things that we should be returning, taking back somewhere, the things that we keep for the what if. It's also the things that we haven't even opened from a previous move. It's the things that we keep maybe for our children. And don't, right? And in our case, we had a lot of sporting equipment. Because, Scott, macho as he is, he really believed that it's the sporting materials that make the man. Until I pointed out to him that the golf clubs that we had in the corner of the garage, which, take a lot of space, and real estate in California is quite expensive. So if you think how much space those golf clubs took, it just didn't make sense. In the 20 years that we've known each other, he had only used them once. So I encouraged him to donate it. And donating it, of course, then allowed a real golfer to have access to it. That's the beauty of decluttering. And as a matter of fact, decluttering our garage has allowed us to have an easier access to the bikes. After all, that was the reason why we moved to that area. The third rule of the zero-waste lifestyle is to reuse. For us, reusing means swapping anything that's disposable for a reusable alternative. So what you see is a jar filled with cloth handkerchiefs. This is what has replaced the box of tissues. No need to buy paper towels or disposable sponges. We've replaced them with rags, with a wooden brush, a metal scrubby. When the metal scrubby and the wooden brush are no longer usable, we can recycle the metal scrubby, we can compost the wooden brush, but these things even last us like about 2 years. No need to purchase disposable food storage. We've been able to eliminate aluminum foil, freezer bags, plastic wrap, wax paper. All of these things we've been able to eliminate simply with jars. We use them to can, like you saw earlier, to preserve food, but also to store food, to transport it for our trash. We even use it for Zizou's food and drink. When the kids need to take their lunch to school, they simply wrap it in a furoshiki. Furoshiki is the Japanese art of wrapping in cloth. In that case, then, the towel is not only used for transport, but they can also use it as a placemat and then as a napkin. When we've had parties at our house, no need to resort to disposables. We don't have a lot of stuff at our house, but what we do have a lot of are glasses. And when we have a party, then I'll make finger foods, which I serve with stainless steel toothpicks, not to use within your teeth, but to actually pick the appetizers. And I also have a pile of cloth napkins. if you plan on having a party of, let's say, 40 people at your house, and you plan on serving your orders with paper napkins, you better plan for at least 200 napkins, because your guests do not respect the paper napkin. They'll take one to grab an appetizer, they'll throw it out. They'll grab another one to wipe their mouth, they'll throw it out. They might grab another one to grab a drink, they'll throw it out. And you go through a lot of paper napkins. But in our case, we found that when we've had a party of 40 people, only 25 people dared use our cloth napkins. So no need for 40 napkins, we only have 32. Swapping anything disposable for a reusable alternative also includes shopping with reusables. No need for a ton of reusable totes, because we've gone through a decluttering process. We've realized that we only need really 3 totes. So we bring 3 totes with us to the grocery store, but we also bring other reusable containers to buy our food in bulk and from the counter. So we bring a pillowcase that we use to buy bread. We bring 5 jars. I know I only showed 3, but we bring 5. One for meat, one for fish, one for deli, one for grated cheese. What's missing? One of them is missing. And then we also bring mesh bags for fruit and veggies. We bring cloth bags to purchase all our dry food in bulk, flour, cereal, salt, sugar. And we buy our milk in a returnable container, so we just have to take it back to the store for it to be reused by the company. Contrary to you guys, which I believe have access to bulk eggs, it's not the case for us. The only place where we can find eggs in bulk without packaging is at the farmer's market. Now here I am buying some shrimp at the store, and of course the salesperson deducts the weight of the jar, so I don't end up paying for the weight of the jar in shrimp money. Then I purchase all the dry food in the bulk aisle using my cloth bags. And once I'm home, as you can see, I have not brought any disposable packaging back. Now, the containers you see right here are just like the milk. It's a brand of kombucha, which is a probiotic drink, and it's also sold in a returnable container. And we also buy our orange juice in a reusable container. We fill one of the milk bottles with orange juice. There is a fresh orange juice machine at the grocery store. And I can tell you how fantastic that is. My kids have rediscovered the true taste of orange juice. When they go to someone's house and someone offers them orange juice, my kids are like, no, thank you. Because they know that the packaged stuff has nothing to do with the fresh squeezed orange juice. Once I'm home, I transfer all the dry goods into glass containers. So this is what our zero-waste pantry looks like. And this is what our refrigerator looks like. Now, we don't have a armoire-type refrigerator like most people. We have refrigerator drawers. And we found that it is a very smart design that allows us to waste 0 food at our house. I say it very proudly, we waste no food at our house. Simply because we have an aerial view of what we have, but it's also from the fact that we store our food in glass containers, so we see exactly what we have. And before going to the store, I of course take an inventory of what I have. There is no need of buying more veggies if I still have some in the fridge. This is our freezer. And the big white thing right here, you see, are the baguettes that I would have bought at the store, and I cut them in half, and then I freeze them in another pillowcase. But when you cut your baguettes in half and freeze them, the first slice dries and whitens, so it's not very appetizing. So we put it in one of these glass jars. Yes, you can freeze food or leftovers in glass. of course, you have to follow the rules. Do not put a hot food in your freezer, or do not fill the jar to the brim. You have to leave a space, and of course, let your food go down to room temperature first. But what we do with those little pieces of bread are we use them to make croutons, we grate them to make breadcrumbs, or once the jar is filled, I use it to make bread pudding. Now in these other jars, it's not leftovers. It's very, very rare that I freeze our leftovers because I reinvent them right away. I reinvent them the next day or the day after, but that's about the max. I really make an effort of using it very quickly. Now, what's in those jars are the meat bones, in another the fish bones, which I then use to make bouillons. And then once I've used it to make a bouillon, then I'll be able to compost it, add it to our municipal receptacle, because we have a municipal pickup that allows us to put those things in it. It digests the meat and fish bones. But also in one of the jars, I store our candles. Why? Because a candle that is frozen burns longer than a candle that is not. Yes, it goes far at our house, yes. These are liquids. Now, I used to have a cabinet filled with different types of oils, different types of vinegars, but because we went through a decluttering phase, I realized that I only really need one olive oil, one vegetable oil, one apple cider vinegar, and one red wine vinegar. I make my own red wine vinegar because it's as simple as adding leftover wine to a mother of vinegar. Actually, this is the problem. You do need leftover wine. Speaking of wine, we also buy it in bulk from a local winery. Now, where I live, you can just show up any time of the week to refill your bottles. You can only refill it during a bottling event. So the machine is calibrated for bottles of 75 centiliters, which is why I bring lemonade bottles. But the advantage of bringing lemonade bottles is that it even allows us to eliminate the cork. Now, we buy all our clothes secondhand. Yes, I'm dressed from head to toe. Well, it's just 2 items, really. 1 pair of shoes and 1 dress, but they're purchased secondhand. $4. Yeah, I know. I scored points that day. But there are things, of course, that we cannot find in the local thrift store, and in that case, we fall back on other avenues. So, for example, we bought the chairs at the flea market. We bought the table on a website like a Craigslist, and we bought the chairs on eBay. Speaking of eBay, this is where we found, we find hard to find items, things that we would not find in a local thrift store. So, for example, at the beginning of the school year, when the math teacher requested a scientific calculator, that's not something we could easily find at a local thrift store. So we fell back on eBay. But when we buy something on eBay, we make sure that we select the option secondhand or used in the left-hand column, so then the whole selection we get is only secondhand. And then when we do buy something, we ask the seller to only send it to us in paper or cardboard because, well, the plastic wrap would not fit in here. Oh, that's my glasses. The backpack you see right here, well, what happened is that when the kids started high school, they each wanted a black backpack, which I can understand. They probably wanted to blend in with the rest of the crowds. But they had a backpack that was still in a good shape. They had a pattern backpack that they had used through their elementary years and middle school. But because it's something that's very specific, I fell back on eBay. But when I ran a search on eBay for a black JanSport backpack, I found that those backpacks, even secondhand, are quite expensive. $25 for the secondhand backpack. I thought, I'm still going to buy it secondhand because I want to support the, the secondhand market. The problem is I bought 2 backpacks. One of them came, was in a pretty good shape, but then the second one was in a pretty sad shape. The ends were fraying, the pocket was becoming undone. I was not very happy with the seller. I told my son, well, just finish the year with it, and we'll figure out something at the end of the school year. Thank God, I found out at the end of the school year that JanSport has an unconditional lifetime warranty. Do you guys know what that means? That means that if you have any problem with a JanSport backpack, no matter how you got that backpack, of course, I'm not encouraging you guys to steal backpacks that are JanSport, but if someone gives you a backpack, if you buy it secondhand, you can actually use that unconditional lifetime warranty. No need to show a receipt. So then what you do is you send it back to the company tries to repair it, and if they cannot repair it, they send you a new one. As a matter of fact, the few times that we've purchased something new was to buy something that we could not, it was to buy something with that unconditional lifetime warranty and that we could not find secondhand. So what you see is my husband's carry-on. It's a Briggs & Riley. Our umbrellas are totes. Of course, I can tell you that there is not a lot of brands that have an unconditional lifetime warranty. There is even a brand of socks. It's called Darn Tough. Those are the socks we wear. It's so beautiful. I no longer have to darn our socks. The fourth rule of the zero-waste lifestyle is to recycle only what we cannot refuse, reduce, or reuse. So as you guys just grabbed, the zero-waste lifestyle does not encourage to recycle more. It encourages to recycle less thanks to waste prevention in the first place, the first 3 R's. I have put Zizou next to our recycling bin on purpose so you guys could see, because you saw Zizou earlier, you saw that Zizou is not a Great Dane as a dog, huh? He's a Chihuahua. So this is the bin that we fill about once a week. What's in that bin is the school paper that is printed on both sides. Because of course, the paper that's printed only on one side, we reuse. But we also have the bottles of wine that friends bring over to our house. Because when people come over, they're like, what should we bring? And we encourage them to bring a bottle of wine. It's a nice change from the bulk wine that we buy. Now, we've also assigned containers for the hard-to-recycle items, things that we cannot simply add to our municipal pickup. So we have a bin in which we collect the tennis shoes with a hole in it. I personally don't have a pair of tennis shoes. I only buy leather secondhand because leather is more easily repairable, but my kids wear tennis shoes. So when their tennis shoe has a hole in it, we throw it in that bin, and then we take the bin to a shoe store that participates in a Nike Reuse a Shoe program. Then they actually use those shoes to make basketball courts. They even have a great little video online that shows how they do that. We've learned with this lifestyle that we should avoid plastics at all costs, because not only are they toxic to our health when they're being manufactured, they are also toxic to our health when we use them. Don't call me crazy, but if I go to a party and there is a platter of cheese in front of me, if I happen to take the piece of cheese that was against the packaging, I can taste it. Because with this lifestyle, I have rediscovered the true taste of food. I can taste when packaging has transferred into my food. If I can taste the packaging, that obviously means that the plastic has transferred into our food. And that means, of course, that it's not very healthy for us. We're finding out more and more about that it's having a horrible detrimental effect on our health. The worst is probably the plastic wrap, because plastic wrap is an unstable plastic, and when it's against a oily food, it has a very quick transfer. So for example, brie against plastic wrap, there is nothing worse. But we've also learned that very, very few plastics have the chance of being recycled. And the few plastics that have a chance of being recycled are then turned into an item that will no longer be recyclable. So when they turn your shampoo bottle, or I don't know what, into a park bench, that park bench is no longer recyclable. So we really consider the plastic materials like a material that's meant for the landfill, that was designed for the landfill. So we try to avoid it. Even Zizou doesn't like plastic. This is a leftover that my neighbor brought for him. Look what a pain that is. He gave up. He just could not keep up with the bowl that was going all over the kitchen. Instead of plastics, we favor metal and glass because they're recyclable over and over again. We also favor cardboard. So at the beginning of the school year, if the kids do need a binder, we buy it in cardboard because when it's no longer usable, we can separate the cardboard from the metal and recycle them independently. We also sometimes choose wood because wood is compostable, like the toothbrush you saw earlier. Now, like I said, we have a municipal pickup that allows us to compost even meat and fish bones. But we also compost our fruit and veggie peels, but we only compost the peels of the fruit and the veggies that need to be peeled. I don't peel zucchinis, I don't peel eggplants, I don't peel turnips. And it's allowed us to take advantage of the vitamins that are enclosed in the peels. But we also compost our butter wrappers. As a matter of fact, I used to be an artist. And when I decluttered my life, I realized that it's not the material that makes the artist, but it's rather what the artist has in the head. So I let go of all my art material. I donated it to local schools on Craigslist. And then I, looked at my recycling bin and my compost bin, and I realized that those are sources of materials in themselves. So I came to look at my compost bin and saw that, I had our butter wrappers. Now, butter wrapper is the only food that we buy in packaging, but we choose it in a wax paper because we can compost it. But I thought maybe I should make a piece with that. So I collected our butter wrappers for 4 years. I folded them into origami lotus flowers, and then I applied them to a canvas. So this represents our butter wrapper consumption of 4 years. I know for the math people in the room, you guys are doing this times this equals, let me tell you right now, it's 575 butter wrappers. Now, if someone had asked me, how many butter wrappers do you think you use or you used in 4 years? I would have guessed 100, 125. I would have been way, way off. 575 butter wrappers. You see, when you recycle, when you compost, when you throw away, you're completely disconnected with how much you're really consuming, how much you're really throwing away, how much you're really wasting. But once you start collecting these things, it gives you a true picture of what you're really doing. This was an amazing experiment for our family. We've since tried to reduce our butter consumption, of course. We also compost our hair. I compost my son's hair, my husband's hair. I compost my bangs. I do not compost the rest of my hair, though. I recycle my hair. I let it grow down to here, and then I cut it, and then I send it to an organization that makes wigs for cancer patients. Speaking about hair, not too long ago, I heard about a zero-waste family. I would have thought to myself, oh boy, these people must be total hippies. I'm sure she doesn't brush her hair. I'm sure she's got legs full of hair. That's the reason why I wear skirts to most of my speeches, so you can see I do not have hair on my legs. I would have also thought, well, maybe this is a stay-at-home mom who doesn't work, who has way too much time on her hands to worry about her waist, who maybe makes way too many things. I have a very, very busy professional life, let me tell you. But I also make very, very few things. I only make what you saw earlier. I only make my cosmetics. We found that the zero-waste lifestyle is not just good for the environment, as you would imagine, but it's also good for our health because we've been able to eliminate all toxic products from our lives. Like you saw earlier, we clean our house with natural products. On my skin, I only put things that you can eat. I no longer have to worry about the detrimental effect of some magic ingredient in a product that I would be buying at the store. And also, when we go grocery shopping, we do the perimeter of the store. The perimeter of the store, that's where you have all the fresh foods. That's where you have the baked goods. That's where you have the bulk or the fruit and veggies. You know, the things that you have in the middle aisles, that's where you have the products that are not only over-packaged, but also over-processed, that contain a ton of ingredients that we can't even pronounce, and ingredients that we find are having a horrible detrimental effect on our health. When, for example, I used to buy mascara at the store, I would get 2 conjunctivitis per year. Ever since I started making my own mascara, since 2012, I have not had 1 conjunctivitis. My husband used to have chronic sinus infections. A few times a year, he'd have to go to the store, get a prescription for antibiotics. Ever since we embarked on the zero-waste lifestyle, they've totally disappeared. When I started with this changing our ways at home, my husband got worried. He said, you know, we're in the middle of the recession. We can't afford for you to go to the health food store. We can't afford to buy our food from the farmer's market. These 2 things have a reputation of costing more where we live. So people were saying the same thing on my blog. So I encouraged my husband to compare our bank statements between the zero-waste lifestyle and the lifestyle before zero-waste. And that's when Scott found out that we were saving 40% on our overall spending. Let me tell you, Scott is a numbers guy. Once he saw that number, he said, amen, Bea, go for it. Now, what are those 40% based on? Well, 1, we consume way less than before. We're no longer adding to our inventory. Somehow before, when I went on vacation, I would always come back with a souvenir. If my mother-in-law visited us, I had to place her somewhere, we'd go shopping and automatically I'd bring back something. Today, we're no longer adding to our inventory. We are happy with just the number of stuff we have. If we buy something, it's only to replace what needs to be replaced. A tennis shoe that has a hole in it, a t-shirt that's too small. And when we buy that replacement, we buy it secondhand, which by definition costs less. But also we buy our food in bulk. Did you know that when you buy a packaged product, 15% of the price covers the cost of the packaging? It's not the manufacturer that pays for the packaging, it's the consumer. So when you buy in bulk, you make an automatic 15% savings. But finally, we've replaced anything that's disposable for a reusable alternative. So that means that our money is no longer invested in the landfill. Because when we bought single-use products or packaging, it was literally throwing our money away. Because when you buy a product that you then throw away, it's throwing your money away. We've replaced all these products with reusable alternatives. They've translated into cumulative savings over time. They've even allowed us to install solar panels on our roof, which saves even more. And at the end of June, we'll be installing a gray water system. We'll be using the shower, the water from the showers, the water from the washing machines to irrigate our plants. But to me, the best advantage of this lifestyle is voluntary simplicity. Because simplicity is not there to complicate your life. It's obviously there to simplify your life, to make room in your life for what matters most. With this lifestyle, we've discovered a life based on experiences instead of things, a life based on being instead of having. Just this past year, we've been able to go snorkeling between 2 continents. We rode our bikes between San Francisco and Los Angeles, which is the equivalent of crossing France by bike. Of course, we had rented out our house during that trip, so it's as if the renters had paid us to do this. But we also went ice climbing. I can tell you how proud my 14-year-old, who then was 13, how proud he is of that picture. But to me, my favorite picture is this one. If you have a teenager at home, you know how hard it is to put a smile on their faces. But I believe that the zero-waste lifestyle is translated perfectly into that picture, because this lifestyle has translated into absolute happiness. Happiness is, as Gandhi said, when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony, and the zero-waste lifestyle has done exactly that for me. Now, I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life. I have no right on that. I'm only here to share my experience. If it inspires you, great. If it doesn't, too bad. But here are my 5 top tips. The first one, of course, would be to follow the 5 rules in order. The second, of course, would be to read my book, Zero Waste Home. I am really proud of my work. I share everything I know about the lifestyle. I share all my recipes. I even wanted to include a recipe of sugar wax. But I don't have hair on my legs because I got them lasered like 15 years ago. So I had to test it somewhere. Not on the Chihuahua, I promise. But I did test it on my kids. With their consent, I promise. I also have, on my blog, I have created resources which you can use freely, of course. There is a forum for you guys to share the problems you've encountered, the solutions you found, but I also created a store which allows you to find the products which I've mentioned in my presentation. But please do not buy those items from my store. Buy them secondhand from your local thrift store. I've also created an app, as you mentioned earlier. This is an app that is participative. It's the community, the Zero Waste community in the world that is sharing the bulk locations that they find near them. 10,000 people have entered 3,000 locations in 31 different countries. There is 400 locations in France alone. If you only remember one thing of today is that buying is voting. Every time you buy something, you have the power to support a practice that is either sustainable or unsustainable. Every time you buy packaging, it's a way for you to vote for a future filled with packaging. More oil will be drilled from the ground to create that packaging. Every time you buy in bulk, you have the power to invest your money in a more sustainable future, in a package-free future. Now, if you feel you're stuck, if you feel you have to buy a product that is packaged or a product that you don't like, then let your voice be heard. If you don't say anything, nothing will change. Finally, I would encourage you to join the Zero Waste community, the global Zero Waste community. The little French au pair that I was when I was 18, well, I should say, it shocked me the other day. I found out that I had the same haircut at the time. I changed in between, believe me. I had platinum hair at one time. But the little French au pair that I was at the age of 18 when I arrived in the US would have never thought being here in Prague today talking about her zero waste lifestyle. The book and the blog have inspired thousands and thousands of people throughout the world to embark on this lifestyle. The book has been translated into 11 languages and hopefully in Czech pretty soon. But some of them are contacting me and they're telling me, thank you so much for inspiring me to embark on this lifestyle. And some of them have even decided to open zero waste stores, like Marie, who opened the first zero waste store in Germany. Then in her turn, she was able to inspire the opening of other zero waste stores and allow for the community to have access to bulk food. Then there is Gérard Bellet, who is a French guy who, after reading my book, decided that there should be more products sold in returnable containers. So he's created a whole line of products in returnable containers. And there is Anne Fournier, who decided to create a mobile zero-waste store. She sells at farmers market in the south of France. I think this is just beautiful. And of course, there is Peter. And, I have to look. Bezobalou. I keep telling you, I cannot keep that name in my head. I had to write it on my hand. We took a picture earlier. I was like this. And of course, there is Bezobalou, who is now allowing you guys to buy your food in bulk. And hopefully, we'll see more and more zero-waste stores open throughout the world. Do you know what we all have in common? Simply the regret of not having started earlier. It gives me chills. So I would encourage you guys to think about this. What do you have to lose in embarking on a zero-waste lifestyle? Who knows what you might discover about yourself? Maybe absolute happiness. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to the translators.
Díky, Beo, obrovský aplaus. Máme bohužel čas jenom na jeden dotaz. Máme 2 minuty. Ještě jednou. Máme bohužel čas jenom na jeden dotaz. Máme 2 minuty.
All right, thank you. Already, sorry about that.
Ne, to je v pořádku. Přišel nám jeden dotaz. Is it in English? Viděl jsem na videu, že nakupujete bez obalu i v supermarketu. Je těžké přesvědčit supermarkety přistoupit na váš způsob nákupu a jak to děláte?
There's a whole technique to use in the supermarket. Let me tell you about that technique. You can go to pretty much any supermarket. You can go to the counter. You present your jar, for example, at the fish, meat, deli, cheese counter. You also have at the supermarket, of course, all the produce that's sold loose without packaging. You have the bread aisle. But of course, at the counter, it's a little bit more tricky. There is a whole technique to adopt. Do not look at the person in the eyes when you present your jar. Because if you do, she'll doubt you, or he'll doubt you, and will say no. And he'll say, no, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations. It's not against health and safety regulations. Now, there are some regulations, but everyone kind of reads it a different way, and then it's much easier for them to say it's against health and safety regulations because they're in a way embarrassed to tell you that they don't know how to do the tar of your jar. Now, they're the king of their palace. They're behind the counter. They're supposed to know everything about the scale, but they often don't know how to tear the jar. And they're embarrassed to tell you that they don't know. So it's much easier for them to tell you, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations. In parentheses, they're telling you, go away. In my case, I had... there was a store where I used to buy a few things, and I would go not every week, but I would go about once a month, once every other month. And they never had a problem with my jar. Now, when I started, of course, I used the technique. And so when I showed up after 2 months, I saw there was a new person behind the counter. So I used that technique again. And I simply said, hi, my name is, well, I don't need to say my name, but hi, I need 1 pound of, whatever, deli in here, please. As I look at the deli selection. And that lady said, no, I'm sorry, but that's against health and safety regulations. And I told her, well, that's crazy, because you guys have been filling my jar for the past 3 years. And she said, no, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations. So I asked her to go ask her manager. So she goes ask her manager. She comes back, she said, okay, I can fill the jar. So she fills my jar. I come back a month later, same lady behind the counter. I'm like, oh boy, here she goes. So I'm like, hi, use the same technique, because you never know with this one. So I'm like, I'd like to have a pound of ham in here, please. And she says, no, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations. I'm like, are you kidding me? You said the same thing last month. You went to ask your manager, and you came back, you filled my jar. And she said, no, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations. I'm like, can you go, please, you ask your manager? She leaves, she asks her manager, she comes back, she said, okay. So she fills the jar. But imagine the person that would have gone there for the first time, who finally had the balls to ask for food in the jar. It takes balls to do it the first time. It takes some strength, some courage. So, I can think that, the person that would have gone there for the first time would have presented it. She would have said, I'm sorry, but it's against health and safety regulations. And that person would have said, oh, my store doesn't do it. No, I'm definitely, yeah. They would have left, very quickly. And I get those emails all the time of people that tell me, oh, my store doesn't do it. They say it's against health and safety regulations. Now, try another store. Try a different day. Find the one salesperson that knows how to tear, that will fill your container. Once you find that person, then you go back to the store the same day, same time, and then you have that person teach the others how to do the tear. That's what happened to me in my store. And now I would say, well, it depends. In some areas, they really know how to do it, but in the deli area, there is a very high turnover. So every time I show up, it's almost like I get a new person and I have to re-explain everything. But do not let them tell you that it's not possible. It is possible. Just use the technique. Well, first have some balls, and then use the technique. And if it doesn't work, try a different store. And even you can use the simple pretext. Say, well, the other store does it for me. That's worked actually for me quite a few times. So don't let it stop you. Go out there, use your jars.
Díky.